Well, July 1st is Canada Day, and as a proud Canadian, I shall be sitting in front of my television watching the show from the Hill.
Canada Day is a time when Canadians get to act a little bit more like Americans. We get to actually wave the flag and be proud.
I was absolutely proud of myself.
Yeah, that's true. He said, I'm a Canadian, I am not Sri Lankan. You know? He said, I'm a Canadian now.
I remember when I got my citizenship, I was actually happy. I said, oh, finally I can live in this country. Finally I'm someone. And I was actually happy because it was just the start of a new life for me.
A country lives in your heart. It lives in your heart. And if it has a life in your heart, it's going to have a life outside.
All the fireworks and all the things that you now think about attached to Canada Day were what we did on the 24th of May weekend. I think that changed in 1967, and that's probably my most profound memory of Canada Day. In 1967, we celebrated the 100th birthday of Canada, and that was the year that we really started celebrating the 1st of July instead of the 24th of May. And even though we remain a constitutional monarchy by our structure of governance, in reality, our 100th birthday was a real coming of age.
Canada joined Newfoundland in 1949 as the newest province, completing the dream of from sea to sea. But July 1st is more than just Dominion Day in Newfoundland, because Newfoundlanders recall July 1st, 1917, and they now commemorate the Battle of Beaumont Hamel. In that battle in 1917, in the First World War, almost an entire Newfoundland regiment, more than 800 out of the 900 soldiers, were wiped out. It was a key battle of the war, and the Newfoundlanders went in ahead of the Allies, and while we took and paid a horrible price for it, the Allies won that battle. And on the 1st of July, while we celebrate being Canadians, we really remember the price that we paid for freedom at Beaumont Hamel.
My first Canada Day memories are obviously predating Canada Day, because there wasn't one when, for most of my young life. We had two big dues in the season, and one was Victoria Day and the other was Dominion Day. And being as how there wasn't a flag yet, we were still yet a choice of two. You could either use the Red Ensign or the Union Jack. We didn't have a constitution. I think we've come a long way since then, and so it's probably a good thing that we have a Canada Day now.
Working on Parliament Hill, of course, you get a sense of the celebration, whereas many Canadians will spend the day with family in their backyards, out in the cottage, on the highways. On Parliament Hill, you do really get that feeling of pride and passion in the country. And I don't think there was any year in which that was stronger and more intense than in 1967.
It wasn't a big event. It wasn't a huge event. We only had 1,500 people in our town. But it was a very special day because it was a chance when families, mums and dads and kids, all got to be together and celebrate who we were. It's a question we don't often stop and think about, and once a year we get to. And the answer always puts a smile on our face.
My favorite Canadian memory is every Canada Day, because we spent it with our family. I spent it with my family when I was a little kid, and now I spend it with my grandchildren, and they spend it with me.
My greatest memory would be when I was probably 8-year-old, and I got my first two-wheel bikes, and on my bike I had a Canadian flag, and I remember driving around the road and had a bell on my bike, and I was ringing the bell, pretending that I was doing a parade with my Canadian flag, and that's a good memory for me.
We hosted a breakfast for senior citizens in this heritage building called the Aberdeen Pavilion, and we had as a guest of honor Barbara Ann Scott, the figure skating world champion and Olympic gold medalist. And she was a sweetheart, you know, she was Ottawa's sweetheart and Canada's sweetheart back in the 1940s and still is to this day. And it was such a great thrill to see all of these wonderful local senior citizens remember their sweetheart, Barbara Ann Scott, and they were hugging her and kissing her and asking for autographs and recalling old memories and stories about the parade the city had for her when she won her gold medal. So it was really very touching and something I'll always remember.
I spent 15 years in LA, and there were a group of Canadians that would drift in and out. Some lived there, some didn't, some lived for a couple of years. And we'd get together on Canada Day and usually have a barbecue, you know, a very American thing to do. But at one of these barbecues, I met my now wife, Amy Skye.
One of my sweetest memories is spontaneous singings of O Canada, and this happened once we were playing in Ottawa. In the middle of my rock shows, I used to do a classical guitar thing. So I'd get out the classical guitar, and it was sort of a big white classical guitar, had this Canadian flag on it, you know, and I thought, I'll play O Canada. You know, and in the middle of this thing, I kind of started playing a fingerstyle version of O Canada. And the crowd kind of started singing, and then before I knew it, they were all singing like really loud, and I stopped playing, and I was just singing, and it was really neat. It was like a goosebump moment where you're going, wow, this is great, and it really made me feel proud.
I can't remember a single Canada Day without music. In some way, you know, trying to find songs that actually relate to our shared experience as Canadians, or out there on the battlefield of a music concert in the mosh pit, or watching artists on stage singing about things that it doesn't necessarily even have to be about Canada. And for years, many Canadian artists were actually afraid of using Canadian place names, thinking that it would disenfranchise them from a world audience. But the amount of pride that Canadian artists have these days, you'll find more Canadian place names, more Canadians proud of being Canadian, and when Canada Day comes along, they're going to sing it loud.
My Canada Day memory is a fairly recent one. It was a CBC live Canada Day gala show from Parliament Hill, and it was a whole group of us from the 70s who had hits. In that sense, it was a moment of Canada that was, and then all of a sudden there were 60,000 people, and I was singing this old relic, Painted Ladies, that I'd written when I had pimples, and all of Parliament Hill, like 60,000 people sang the chorus. So it was a Canada Day that was a shot in the arm at the same time.
Canada Day for my children were very important because that was the day that they were allowed to go on the roof and watch the firework, and we were preparing some snack, and they were very excited. All day they were talking about the evening when they're going to go on the roof to watch the firework, and they were very excited.
Every show is pretty well unique. You know, you're not going to get the product that you use or the way or the length of time that you're going to shoot it. Some will be much more intense. It'll be a shorter show, or it'll be a longer show. But the thing is that you always have some fireworks going.
I remember the fireworks. That was always my favorite bit, was blowing up stuff.
I have to confess that I look forward to the fireworks too. They're just as much fun now as they always were, including burning down the schoolhouse.
In the olden days, and I'm talking in the 60s, we didn't have municipal fireworks or anything like that, so everybody on our street would pool their fireworks, and my dad loved fireworks, so we'd always get a big collection. Everybody would gather on our front veranda, and in those days you'd have the pinwheels, and they'd have the big crackers that are now illegal, and so they would literally set the pinwheel up. And when you think about it now, and I guess it's the same if you're living in Canada or the United States, your kids have seen so much, it's pretty hard to impress them. But we used to have these little things called snakes, and they were just like little lead pellets that when you lit them, they'd start to grow and grow and grow. And in 1962, 63, 64, to do a pinwheel, the snakes, the sparklers, And the burning schoolhouse. I mean, this was just unbelievable.
Sometimes we collect money so we can buy some of the larger fireworks, or other times we bring the family fireworks sets that you can pick up at your local store. But the dads line up to set off the fireworks. They fight over who gets to be the one to be out there setting them off. And every once in a while there's that one that explodes, and they come back with maybe a fewer beard hairs than they might have had when they started out. But that's when the dads, I think, really become the kids.
You could get really good fireworks, like stuff that's all illegal now. You don't get to have any fun anymore, but you could get these big cannons, and you could put them in plastic tubes and drill holes and light the cannons off and shoot tennis balls through people's windows. All kinds of groovy stuff. That's what Canada Day meant to me, was pyrotechnics. And actually it's still very closely linked to pyrotechnics. That's my favorite part. Every year on Canada Day, when I'm not gigging, I take my son and we put a blanket on the ground amidst the throngs in Stan Wardlow Park around the corner from where we live. And we watch not really, the first degree fireworks, but kind of the third degree fireworks. But they're right overhead, and they're going off from the baseball diamond. guys are lighting them and the sparks are coming down and they're running around with their hair on fire. It's really kind of folky. There's those little things kids wave around with colors for their, the little sparkly things. I always buy 16 tons of sparklers and give them to my kid, and he runs around and we blow stuff up. It's all about blowing stuff up in the nice way.
I think, keeping on the fireworks thing, we have the sparklers always come out on Canada Day, and they come out in full force, and when we were kids, we used to, you'd light 3 or 4 or 5, a pack at a time, and just, go crazy, and there's that kind of, lie about sparklers not being dangerous, which they're weapons. When you think about it, they really are weapons. So we used to light them in packs and then hold them, and I used to kind of throw them, like little, hey, everybody celebrate. And one time I remember throwing it and it touching my, hitting, someone's hair, and, seeing it kind of go up in beautiful flame.
Canadians are not big flag wavers. We don't wear our flag on our sleeves, or sometimes even our emotions. So this one day every year, we get to be proud. We get to really stand out there and wave the flag and feel what it really is like to be a Canadian. We've got a lot to be proud of. We're an amazing country.
I wasn't born in Canada. I came here as a landed immigrant via Pier 21 as just a little girl. And that was my beginning of my love affair with Canada. We were welcomed by the East Coast volunteers, and then went to Ottawa, where I grew up. Not very well, I only made it to 5 feet. But my mother, who's Ukrainian background and still has an accent, always talks about how you must be proud. It doesn't matter whether you're Anglophone or Francophone or Yucaphone or got no phone at all. We're all the same under the skin. We have no clothes on. And we are one big country of Canadian chooks. So you have to be a proud Canadian.
I find that our multicultural society, people coming from everywhere, the diversity, makes it that one can learn from each other. When I'm asked to address the group of young students, often one will get up and say, hey, I'm becoming a Canadian citizen, I'm gonna celebrate on Canada Day. I find that in their eyes, in their life, they have history, the same history of what happened to our Canada. So I think that it's so important. And also, I can remind them, and on July 1st, we're reliving a dream. And it's because of their participation and what they bring to it, that this dream will only get to be bigger and better.
Canada is a special country, there is no country like that. A lot of nationalities, different people, they live together, and we knew that.
Canada, it's a big country because of its multicultural, and the integration is going very well, I think. All the different ethnic groups, all these people from different countries are melting in one country and in one people.
I was always so aware of learning about being Canadian, being a proud Canadian. And certainly, it's always a thrill to celebrate Canada Day, but with me, I'm just proud to be Canadian every single day.
This is a remarkable country. For such a young country, we have done so much. Our potential is so strong, and our young people have that opportunity to find us an even bigger place in the world?
Well, there is no country with such a peace record as Canada. People are very open, very tolerating, more than maybe other countries in the world.
I think it's great that we celebrate Canada Day. I think it's great that we celebrate it with a lot of pomp and circumstance. It certainly is, the country itself is deserving of that type of celebration. We were the only country on the face of the earth that was born in peace, and will probably rest that way.
I love it for many reasons, and it seems like if you can get home for it, it's a lot better than being away on Canada Day. I don't think the world knows about Canada Day, abroad, in America and in Europe. And so when you are away and you meet up with other Canadians, especially on Canada Day, it's it's kind of like the Masons. It's kind of like a secret club. It feels good, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
I don't think it was until I came back from the United States when I was about 22, 23, 24 years old that I discovered Canada. I had known, of course, about Canada through history books and all the rest of it, and I was always been fascinated by the geography of Canada. The awesome beauty of it is unbelievable.
If there's anything that as parents we've sort of been able to instill and pass along, it's that sense of, that again, the spirit kind of passing along the community and the caring about someone else, maybe a little bit more than you care about yourself first, And maybe that's something that makes Canadians a little bit more unique than other cultures.
This country is made up of communities, and it's the small communities that really are the flavor of the country and are really what celebrating Canada Day is all about. And as our community has grown and changed, some years we had more difficulty raising the funds necessary to put on such a large gathering, and my children wouldn't have us not celebrating Canada Day. So one year we picked up the entire event and moved it to our home and had 80 or 90 people at my house with the barbecue and the red shirts and the white t-shirts, and everyone dressed up, and everybody's children, and did very much the same thing, but ensured that we continued the tradition.
In Ottawa, I think it's something special because Ottawa, in my way of thinking, is everyone's second hometown. And when people come from across the country to Parliament Hill and see the entertainers and see the fireworks, there's something magical about that. And it really leaves a lasting impression on people who see the show and see the spectacle for the first time. It certainly did for me. And literally there's 100,000 people that come onto the grounds of Parliament Hill. They have, they're dressed in red and white, and they have maple leaves painted everywhere. They're eating beaver tails. It's very Canadian.
This year I'm going to be celebrating Canada Day in Central Park in New York City. And I think maybe when you're away from your own country and away from those things that are familiar and that you know and that are predictable every year, somehow it becomes more special. And so being in New York City, feeling that connection that is in a place where people have really, in the wake of 9/11, returned to values. It's about spending time with each other. It's about being closer to one another. I think all of the Canadians pulling together in New York City is going to be a very special memory that I'm going to carry with me forward.
I think most countries feel the same way. I think we want our children to grow up and to value the culture that is theirs, and to love their country, to want to be part of that country, and to want to contribute to that country as they grow up. And whether you're celebrating the July 1st or July 4th in the United States, it's the same thing. And we look to our friends and our neighbors in the South, and we see them celebrating the same way. Their flag's a little bit different, but the feelings are the same. The song may be different. We know a lot of the words to theirs, and they know the words to ours. But we're celebrating together, and that's probably, in North America, it's good timing that both countries are celebrating their national heritage and their national spirit at the same time.
I think the fact that our two holidays are close together is an interesting. It's not just the fact that it's summertime, which also is a good time for a holiday. But it's also a time for us to remember, and it's something that we have to remember always in this country, and I hope that our American cousins and relatives and good friends will too, that our two countries sometimes disagree about things. but that when I disagree with my two best friends, my wife and my other best friend, on matters of principle on which we sometimes simply can't agree, that they're still my best friends, and that good friendship of our kind transcends those kinds of disagreements that we have from time to time. And that's been the case for 150 years, give or take a nickel. A little more than that, actually, since the last time we actually shot at each other, which we hope is in the deep, dark, distant past.
Well, I'm a French Canadian, and therefore I have thousands of relatives in the United States. They all went down there. But after a while, they become more American than they are Canadian. But there's always a residue. And my nephews and my nieces called me, and some cousins called me on Canada Day, all right, to wish me a gay Canada Day. And of course, I reciprocate on their beautiful holiday on July the 4th.
Americans, they have a very strong sense of their own country. A very strong sense of pride. And the difference is that I think we kind of carry around a sense of a humility and a modesty that, it may set us aside from the Americans a little bit. And I think they see that and they admire that.
What is the difference between Canada Day and Independence Day? I would say that Canada Day is a little more reserved. Independence Day and July 4th in America, everyone's going crazy and, it's a little more intense, but there's a little more reservation about Canada Day. But it's kind of cool because I think we know we can relax. That's the day that we're looking forward to and we're relaxing.
The biggest difference between being Canadian and American is the fact that we celebrate July 1st and they celebrate July 4th. The reason we celebrate July 1st is because if we celebrated July 5th, all the good fireworks would be gone.
I travel the world a lot, and people don't realize until they go somewhere else the freedoms that we have here in Canada and the United States. You just don't realize it, you just take it for granted. That in some of the countries I've been in, at the drop of a pin, you could be arrested by, by police and detained and treated improperly. And a lot of countries don't have any rights, and we just take them all for granted. So it is really something.
There's nothing on the earth like Canada. And consequently, Canada to me is every day. I get up in the morning, and it's 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I say, I am in Canada. And that's where I am, and that's where I belong, and that's where I've made my dwelling, my home. My children are here, my grandchildren are here, and I shall be here forever. This is my land, this is my home. And I have no doubt about that at all. I don't want to live anywhere else. I just want to live here, and Canada to me is every day. However, now, of course, I participate in all the great ceremonies of Canada Day, and the more the merrier. But I want people to understand that a country lives in your heart. It lives in your heart. And if it has a life in your heart, it's going to have a life outside.
Happy Canada Day. Hope you like it. Happy Canada Day. Oh, Canada, our home and native land. True.
Hey, what's going on? We're the rock soul group Kuya, and we're here to say Happy birthday, Canada! Woohoo!
Quand ton bras s'épaule le pays, il s'épaule la croix.
My favorite Canadian Day, Happy Canada, everybody Happy Canada Day. My favorite was being born in Canada. I guess that was my favorite day, being born.
That's awesome. Do you do anything though with family for Canada Day? Like if you're on the road, July 1st Day?
No, I don't really celebrate one day. I have Canada Day every day. I celebrate every day. I don't have one day like a year or one, I do it every day. Canada Day, every day.
Canada Day, of course, is July 1st, and the United States, July 4th is their big day. And as a comedian with Air Farce, we often compare Canada and the United States, and we always say that the Americans, their symbol is the mighty eagle. And Canada, we have the lowly little beaver, the beaver, whose only preoccupation it is to build dams. Dam after dam after dam, dams, dams, and more dams. That's why Canada is the best dam country in the world.